So I get a lot of questions from junior designers or those that are interested in the field. And they often ask about boot camps because there's so many right now compared to several years ago. And so I figured this week I'm going to dedicate myself to talking a bit about boot camps. Okay, so quality is a little down, well, it's fairly down, but the format is changing for this episode because I'm in between several things, but I want to get this video out. I'm going to show you the kind of rundown of my thoughts on what I had for this episode. I'm going to go over the variety of boot camps out there. Often they're for-profit, don't offer certification. Now, there are some that offer certification, and that certification is backed by the academic institution that has created that particular program. For that certification to make sense, it is up to really the belief and the support of the system that surrounds it. So it can depend on things like cities, organizations, companies, unified effort of recognition overall from all these other factors, because without that, what does the certification really show you? And furthermore, that goes into, are we really at a point to where we can say that user experience is still young? Is it really that raw? And I would say no, because there's already a number of business practices in business, in cognitive science, in design, where they all have their baseline of what good is for every one of those things, and it's a matter of practicing, unifying, forming that understanding, and pushing it forward. So is UX that? No, it's not. So quality of education, it depends on the experience of the professional. So a number of these boot camps, they create a curriculum, and oftentimes that may not be in the hand of the professional, and maybe it is. And so that's why you have a varied amount of quality from institution to institution. You go from General Assembly, from which I've had experience with, to something like MIT, who's using their reputation to leverage the fact that their professionals want to endorse baseline practices. I mean, truth be told, if you really want something qualitative out of your experience and something that you could really use and something that employers will look for, you really need something that's hands-on and something that you interact with clients over. And honestly, doing all the conceptual and all the tools and skill set won't matter until you're actually doing the work. And so I'm going to briefly go over several of the known boot camps out there. And there's plenty more. I mean, the market right now has way more UX boot camps than there have been in the last number of years. So let's go over real quick the UX UI boot camp at University of California in Irvine. Their program is 24 weeks, and they go pretty well through the entire process. You do color theory, atomic design, you practice research methods, you practice all these tool sets and methods that you use as a part of the UX process. You get familiar with prototyping in these various things. Now in UX, we don't typically prototype like this. It's helpful to know those, but it is not critical to use those because you're going to spend too much time debugging when you're actually coding. So good to know, not beneficial to your flow if you're trying to get really critical return on investment style feature sets, because user research is where the critical stuff happens. Coding, not really. And to what I'm familiar with is the user experience design immersive at General Assembly. And it's critical that students practice the process and have the mentorship available. That's why I'm not fond of online programs when it comes to UX, because you really need someone there. You really need the perspective and insight of the instructors. Otherwise, you could be wandering in the dark and you're wasting time. for instance, in here, and it's all online, you're actually kind of stunted because you can learn all of those things but not know how to exercise it effectively. So you're almost like you're leaning towards learning on an internship. But how many internships in UX are there? There's not a lot. It's almost like looking for a junior designer position. So I'm really asking a lot of students and people new to UX to really branch out, learn as much as possible wherever you can, but learn also through action. Action to validate, action to anchor you so that you can move onward. That pretty much covers a lot of this. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact me. For the most part, that's pretty much it about UX bootcamps. There's ways to do it, and there's ways to experience it effectively, but I trust that whatever you feel works for you, it may work for whatever circumstances you feel benefits your journey. And so ultimately, these are my experiences and perspectives. I'd like to hear your feedback on UX bootcamps in the comments below. For more explorations in systems and design, and culture, I guess. For Hourglass, I'm JB.